And Paswan's death before the upcoming Bihar elections may change the game and overall dynamics of the LJP. Nominations for the second phase of the assembly elections began with the issuance of notification. The last date of filing of nominations for the second phase is October 16, while scrutiny will take place on October 17. The last date to withdraw the candidature is October 19. Polling for the second phase will be held in 94 constituencies spread across 17 districts on November 3rd. And our correspondent Abhishek Jha is joining us from Delhi, and Yogesh Sheetal is joining us from Patna. Thank you very much for being with us. Well, we'll start with you, Abhishek. You are, at the residence of Ramvilas Paswan, and we have seen, a host of dignitaries continuing to come in and pay their last respects. What's the situation like currently?
There has been a flow of dignitaries who have been coming here to pay last respect to one of the stalwarts of politics in Bihar for the last 4-5 decades. You said, as like many of Union Cabinet Minister, the Home Minister, Defence Minister, Prime Minister himself also came to just pay their last respect and console the family members of the late Union Cabinet Minister. Now, in a short while from now, his body will be taken to Palam airport. From there, that will be flown to Patna, where the last rites will happen. So this a very long journey has been. There has been a long 5 decades old journey for this stalwarts of Lok Jan Shakti Party in Bihar, and surely his demise has created a huge vacuum which will not be able to be filled for years to come.
Indeed. Yogesh, you are in Patna, so the body will arrive later. What are the arrangements after that?
Done properly at different places like Vidhan Bhavan, even Bihar Assembly, where the first body will be taken to the State Assembly, and later on the body will be kept at party office, where I am standing right now for the darshan of the people. They are eagerly waiting to see, taking the last darshan of their beloved leader. We know that Ramvilas Paswan has left a huge vacuum in the politics of Bihar. Basically, we know that he rise from the very bottom line, and he just, he might not have been the king in Bihar as of now, but yes, no doubt that he has proven that he has emerged as a kingmaker several times in the past, also in Bihar Assembly and also in the center. So there's no doubt that a lot of sentiments are prevailing in the city of Patna and also other areas. Currently, we have some party workers. We have a spokesperson of LJP, Sanjay Paswan. आप हमें बताइए कि कितना बड़ा जो है लॉस है पार्टी के लिए, और जो यहाँ पे जिस तरीके के अभी तो चुनाव भी आने वाले हैं, तो ओवरऑल क्या सेंटिमेंट है उनके इस तरीके से निधन?
इस देश के दूसरा अंबेडकर, करोड़ों दलित शोषित पीड़ित के मसीहा आदरणीय रामविलास पासवान साहब का अचानक चला जाना, ये यहाँ करोड़ों दलित शोषित पीड़ित अनाथ हो गया है। पूरा देश रो रहा है। उनको चाहने वाले देश के हर कोने कोने में कार्यकर्ता जमा थे, सारे रो रहे हैं, कहते हैं अनाथ हो गया, अंधेरा हो गया। और इस समय में तो खास करके हमारे गार्जियन को रहना चाहिए, अचानक छोड़ के हम लोग को नहीं जाना चाहिए। मार्गदर्शन करने की जरूरत थी।
Definitely, he was not only the guide but also the guardian of the party, that he has rightly underlined and also highlighted the important points. आप हमें बताइए कि जो जिस तरीके का उनका कंट्रीब्यूशन रहा अलग अलग मूवमेंट्स में, वो बहुत लीड करते रहे, चाहे वो इमरजेंसी के दौरान उनका स्ट्रगल हो या फिर उसके बाद हमने देखा था मंडल कमीशन में किस तरीके से जब ओबीसी रिजर्वेशन की बात आई तो काफ़ी मुखर थे। इन सब चीज़ों को देखते हुए भी क्या लगता है जो सामाजिक न्याय का आंदोलन है या उसके इतर जो बिहार में कई तरह के आंदोलन चलते हैं, उसमें उनकी कमी कितनी खलेगी?
देखिए, जो सामाजिक न्याय का आंदोलन बिहार में शुरुआत हुआ और 1974 में जो परिवर्तन का लहर था, पूरा बिहार और देश परिवर्तन चाह रहा था। मैं बताना चाहता हूँ, हम लोग के नेता आदरणीय रामविलास पासवान खगड़िया जिला का एक सुदूर गांव अलौली प्रखंड का सहरबन्नी गांव, वहाँ उनका जन्म हुआ। और जब 1969 में पहली बार वह खगड़िया में अलौली विधानसभा से डॉक्टर राम मनोहर लोहिया जी के आग्रह पर राजनीति में आए, क्योंकि उनकी शिक्षा और दीक्षा खगड़िया में, अलौली में, सहरबन्नी में हुई। फिर खगड़िया में जो PW हाई स्कूल है वहाँ से उनकी शिक्षा हुई, फिर वहाँ के कोसी कॉलेज में उनकी
वो मतलब काफ़ी माइक्रो इंटीरियर से आते थे और फिर वो काफ़ी उन्होंने लंबी लकीर खींची है बिहार की राजनीति और देश की राजनीति में। अभी जो आंदोलन फिलहाल, क्योंकि कई सारे आंदोलन हैं, कई सारे अभियान हैं, अभी भी हम देख रहे हैं समकालीन राजनीति में जो चल रहे हैं, ऐसे में आपको कितना लगता है कि उनकी कमी जो या उनका नेतृत्व जो है वो अभी करें?
देखिए, अभी अचानक उनके चले जाने से ये खबर सुन के ही पूरा बिहार की 12 करोड़ जनता स्तब्ध है। उनका अभी बहुत ज़रूरत था बिहार में, और बिहार के कार्यकर्ताओं को, बिहार की जनता को। और निश्चित रूप से जिस तरह वो कार्यकर्ताओं से सादगी से मिलते थे, सहजता से मिलते थे, जिस तरह आम जनों से मिलते थे, उनका जो प्यार और स्नेह बिहार के लोगों को वह देते थे, मिलते थे, निश्चित रूप से। और जो मंडल कमीशन का देश में, क्योंकि मंडल कमीशन जो बीपी मंडल का जो आयोग ने सिफारिश किया था मंडल कमीशन, तो वो ठंडे बस्ते में पड़ा हुआ था, कांग्रेस ने उसको ठंडे बस्ते में डाल दिया।
Right,
So that is also you
yes,
also
Yogesh.
rightly underlined that how he has struggled and how in Mandal Commission has definitely. I would like to talk to one of the party workers. सुरेंद्र जी, आप बताइए कि एज ए पार्टी वर्कर आपको कितना बड़ा सेटबैक लगा और क्या लगता है ऐसे समय में जब चुनाव सर पे है, ऐसे शीर्ष नेता का न रहना साथ में?
देखिए, दुख व्यक्त करने का कोई शब्द नहीं है। अभी इतना पूरे बिहार में मातम छाया हुआ है, और एक ऐसे लीडर का असमय चला जाना, पूरे राज्य के गरीब, गुरबा, मजदूर, शोषित, पीड़ित सारे के सारे दुखी अभी रो रहे हैं। इसीलिए ऐसे समय में, चुनाव के इन वक्त पर हमारे आदरणीय रामविलास पासवान रहते तो हमारी लोजपा की बिहार में ऐसे ही बहुत बड़ा कद था, बहुत बड़ी मजबूती थी। और आज
Definitely. So basically, Ramvilas Paswan has not only consolidated the Dalit in North, basically North India and especially in Bihar. How he consolidated the entire Dalit community and also scheduled caste community. So there's no doubt that his contribution in Bihar politics will never be forgotten, will never be sidelined. The things he had contributed in the politics of Bihar and also the center, that will never be forgotten. But one thing which is very important, that it remains to be seen that what would be the further way for the party that will be now probably led by Chirag Paswan, his son. That remains to be seen, that what are the things, what are the changes, what are the initiatives the party takes at this point in time, when the situation is not very good for the party.
Look at what the road ahead is for the party, yes, and how Chirag Paswan
so that remains basically to see that what are the challenges are there.
Let's go back to Abhishek Jha,
Yogesh.
Let's go back to Abhishek. Abhishek, I mean, when we heard the voice from the ground in Patna, and the contribution which spreads over 50 years, it's a huge contribution, one would think, and one has to understand it in context, because how would you assess, evaluate somebody who has been in politics for 50 years and contributed in under 6 prime ministers, worked in different cabinets, worked in different ministries, and always at the same time thought about his own constituency, which he's nurtured and won 8 times, several times with record margins. So one has to see this in that context, and also then as a leader, as the cabinet has said, a leader of the marginalized sections of society. Put that into context for us finally in your wrap-up answer.
Barclays, Ramvilas Paswan came from a very deprived lot, a community who did not have much of access to the social means. Even during his primary education days, he had to swim through a small river, and then he had to finally shift in a very tender age to other places for his education. He always fought for this social justice and empowerment of a class which was kind of untouchable in those 50s and 60s of Bihar. One thing was very clear in his mind, that any justice would come only when the seeker is in power, then only he can empower his people, his own community. He fought election in the year 1969 when he was elected for this Bihar General Assembly, But in the same year, when he was almost like 25 years old, he was also selected for Bihar Public Service Commission, and he was allotted role of DSP. he did not opt to go with this bureaucracy. He rather opted to go with his political career. And in the years of his, in the 5 decades of his journey, the last few decades, he has been a struggler during emergency. Almost 2 years, he was put behind the bar because he was proclaimed an offender. So all the time in his early years, he tried to be a strongest voice of his community, of deprived class, of people who were not having enough means to be equal to all societal norms. So that has been quite a lot journey, and one would have to dream if one has to become a politician in Bihar, he has to see the journey of a person who has come from that background and achieved so much of success.
Right. Let's go back to Yogesh for one final comment from you, Yogesh. You know, at the end of the day, a politician is judged by his delivery of justice, in a sense, because, you know, at the end, a person enters the public service with the aim to deliver justice to the people. And in that context, you know, as Abhishek was mentioning also, that Ramvilas Paswan served, you know, that kind of a noble objective very well. And that's why you heard all the people around you also saying that. So in this context, you know, how does one see the road ahead? You were talking a little bit about how Chirag Paswan is likely to take forward this legacy. You know, what do you see in your view, and what do the people think is going to be the road ahead?
Seema, taking the legacy of Ramvilas Paswan ahead is definitely, no doubt, will be a big challenge for Chirag Paswan. But as you have also rightly, you know, highlighted that a politician is basically, you know, known by his work, by his dedication. Because we know the equations are formed in Indian politics and also regional politics. Basically, in Hindi we call it Chhatrap. So there are a number of equations that sometimes that breaks also, but the thing which always remains present in the minds of the common people are the works that have been delivered. The delivery basically that was ensured by the leaders, and that was one of the major qualities for that Ramvilas Paswan will be known and will be will be recalled for a long time, because he was not only, you know, confined himself particularly to the Dalit politics, but also if you just go beyond the words, then he also earned respect. He also earned trust of the people who are not Dalit or not scheduled caste as per the law. But also they believe that these leaders, these kind of leaders, are taking the entire society with them, and that was one of the reasons why he had good bonds with the people, with the politicians across the party lines. So basically, this was one of the big qualities what Ramvilas Paswan had, and that is basically the people will miss now when he is no more.
Thank you very much, Yogesh Sheetal and Abhishek Jha, for putting that into context. Ramvilas Paswan, stood like a rock for 50 years in politics, and of course it was in the era of coalition politics that he really emerged into his own. We're going to take a short break at this point in time. You're watching Midday Prime. Stay with us.